out of this Gunners Collective. Back at it, you already know. Here's the double up. I said the double up. I said guard the double up. Already, I ain't gonna say too much, but as you can tell by that thumbnail right there, there's a different mentality nowadays. A very different mentality. You know, there's big differences. You know, a lot of people are asking me questions, DMing me, instant messaging, or whatever the case may be. And they're asking, hey, Gun, at the end of the day, why aren't youngsters making it like they used to in prison? And I tell them just simply this. Hey, don't put what happened to one youngster, what happened to two youngsters, what happened to three youngsters on the plate of all those others that are striving, that have, you know, garnered that respect, that are doing it, that do have that mentality to make it. See, every man is different, man. Every man is going to do it according to his own. You know, if he got that good klecha, if he's laced up, if he's committed to whatever he's doing, then he's going to make it. Age doesn't play a factor into it. Now, it's a little bit different in the era we're living in. You know, painted toenails, fingernails, and Bud Light has definitely impacted the culture. But at the same time, right, don't judge what happened to one guy in a shower to everybody. Because I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of young Northern California, Southern California, and all over California youngsters striving within them walls. Okay, now I remember back in my days when we were gamed up, glitched up, we were all striving. It was honorable to go to prison, to hit them yards. That was what we looked forward to. We knew automatically, based upon the decisions we were making right there in the youth authority or even on the calles, that one stop was definitely going to be prison. For some of us, it was our last stop. Some, hey, they were out there wiggling, homes. They never even made it. I said they were just doing too much on the calles. But for the most part, we always knew in a menudo style, in a direct fashion, that's where we were headed. And it didn't matter if you were from Northern California or from Southern California or black or a wood or, you know, anything. You were possibly and more than likely headed to prison. And it was something that was noble. It was something that we looked forward to. It was like the last stop into solidifying that we were real ones, that we were real gang members, that we had the game. It was like the last piece of the puzzle, the never-ending story. I said we were trying to get to that last page. Now, for some, that page never ends because they got there and they were never allowed to leave. And those are the ones that I say, pobrecito. Those are the ones that have to strive behind those walls to eternity. You know, but it was noble to go there, to become an ex-con or to become a convict, and then ultimately an ex-convict if you got a date. It was noble to hit those yards and get glitched up by real G's, you know, B numbers, C numbers. People that had the game, people that established and set foundations for the gente to have their own parts of yard to wiggle on. You know, it was like the most blessed game you could get when you're striving as a gang member in California. Now, the way I was taught by some OGs was, hey, when you go in there, you shut the fuck up and you listen. You act according to your people. You know, you don't go in there saying the N-word. You don't go in there sagging. You don't go in there bragging about what you had on the calles. You go in there, homes, and you forget what's going on out there and you pay attention to what's going on in front of you. And that's how we focus, and that's how it was. And there was a lot of nobility in that. There was a lot of realness in that. There was a lot of game in them words because I knew at the end of the day, that's how I was going to be able to survive. See, what people don't understand is if you go into prison with the mentality that you're big badass, that can't no one touch you, you will be touched. You will be sought at and brought to the circle and touched a little bit. You will get scraped because nobody is bigger than the agenda of the safety and security of the people or of the program that's going on there. If you go mess up the program of the yarda will mess your program up ultimately. And in, you know, Money Sign Suede's case, terminally. That's just how it is. Now, the difference now is people are scared to go to prison. Now, nobody wants to go. You know, it wasn't like we were like, oh, man, lock me up, throw away the key. I ain't scared to see the soap run down the crack of a man's ass. It was no toothpick shit, but at the end of the day, we knew ultimately, you know, that if we went there, we were going to have to act accordingly, and then we were going to get some righteous gain from our people. See, the difference with the mentality now, and I'm not going to say youngsters, I'm saying mentality because it could be an older vato that just never went that route. The difference in the mentality now is people are scared of the movies that they see. They're scared of the unknown. You have to go in there. Yeah, you might have a few butterflies in your stomach, right? But you have to go in there with the mentality that, hey, it is what it is. Okay, you put yourself in a position to be incarcerated and locked up. You got to now roll with the punches. And hey, it's different for everybody. There's some Africano brothers, man. And I'm going to tell you right now, I used to always say to myself, well, it's easier being an Africano. They don't check paperwork. Or it's easier being an Africano. They don't do this and they don't do that. And they're not really set tripping like that. And they don't have to answer to anybody. But that's furthest from the truth. They definitely do check paperwork. They definitely do answer. And they definitely will rock your fucking world if you act stupid with them. Everybody has that mentality, that go-getter mentality. They're going to go in, they're going to get theirs. Period. It's a dog-eat-dog world. To explain a penitentiary or the inside of a prison is very hard if you haven't been there. But the understanding is this, the righteousness is this. If you mind your own, then your own will remind you. If you pay attention to what business you have to take care of, and you're quick to raise your hand when it comes that time, Sabaske, you're going to be just fine. Now remember, the dirt that you bring from the guys does catch up to you in there. You cannot escape what you do on the streets. Although the streets and the prison mentality are two totally different things, what you do and the content of your character definitely will be addressed and adjusted to. And you might have to adjust to some things that you don't want to. You know, if people ask you questions, you do not lie. If people ask you where you've been, you better let them know where you've been. Be transparent with the gente. Let the people know exactly what time it is, man, and that's going to get you further. Now, a lot of the young mentality and a lot of the different mentality we got going on nowadays is people think they're that one. They're getting all blasted back, tatted down, having done no time, did 2 days in the county jail. Motherfuckers think they're a pintero. You know, that, oh, I'm an ex-convict. Guess what? I was in LA County for 2 days. I was in a this module and that module. It's like this and like that module, right? Look, it doesn't matter where you think you've been. It's where you actually are. And when you get to prisons such as Soledad, San Quentin, Tracy's gone, you know, but Tracy, Pelican Bay, High Desert, Susanville, whatever the case may be, these are real hardcore places where people don't fuck around, right? They're not playing. Them places are a lot of people's pads forever, okay? And when you go into these places, you better adjust to the program. Now, there's nothing cool with being incarcerated. You know, I remember back in the days, though, you know, when a homeboy got out of prison, we threw a party for him. It was all good. Hey, the homeboy just got out. He did 7 years. That's right. Hey, all the chicks wanted to pull up and give him the... It was just going down, right? Hey, he was going to have it his way like the Burger King because he was a ghetto celebrity. He had just pulled a whole bunch of time in the name of the barrio. Hey, he was going to get all that respect. But nowadays, it ain't nothing like that. Nowadays, you get out and the homeboy's like, hey, I heard you did some time. Hey, I just did 7. Is that right? Hey, well, watch out. We're going to go over here. We're going to go watch that concert. And then he raps like this. Times have changed. And it takes time to adjust to that change. Okay, but it also takes time to adjust to change when you go to prison. See, there's a reverse side to every coin. That's saying this is straight up. You know, I'm going to give you game that a lot of real ones won't because they don't have the time to. They figure, hey, that's on you and that's on your OG homeboys to clutch you up and game you up. But right here on Gunners Collective, I'm going to give you some of that knowledge you can't get in college because I'm hoping that, hey, ideally that if you get locked up in incarcerated homes, you will have the game to make it. I wish, really, I wish that someone would have gave the game to that youngster about how he was acting on the streets, would catch up to him in prison. Okay, if you go in there with the mentality, and I'm all for black and brown, I'm all for brothers and Latinos united, divided, we ride, and I'm all in for that, right? I truly believe, man, that as minorities, man, we're oppressed the same ways. We go through a lot of the same turmoil and turbulation, right? Or is that how you say it? Turbulation? I don't know. I'm just fucking making words up at this point. But we all go through some of the turmoils. You know, we toil in that same soil of oppression. You know, we don't have it as good as other people may have it, but at the same time, man, it's up to us as a people, as a minority people, to adjust and get with the program. You can no longer open doors. You have to kick those fuckers in. That's it. That's game. That's real life. So, if you kick back, say you're a Mexicano, and you're kicking back with a lot of Africanos, and you think you're just going to go function with your people and still act that same way or with that mentality, I'm here to tell you it's not going to happen. It's not going to work out quite well for you. Now, it's not a racial thing, but at the end of the day, it kind of is. Okay? You have to have love for your people. You have to understand your history, the people you come from, the people you've strived from, and you have to understand your culture. Everybody has beautiful and different cultures, but again, the key word here is different. Okay? And if you don't adjust or adapt to what's going on with your gente homes, you're going to get took back by your gente. Straight up. That's just the way it is. Now, there's a reason that certain things are the way that they are in prison. And we can't get to every little element of it because I'm not here to give you that type of game. Because guess what? At the end of the day, hey, who am I to speak on certain things? But I will say this. If you go in there saying the N-word, if you go in there with the funny-ass fucking haircut and painted fingernails, if you go in there with pants tighter than tartar sauce on fucking fish fillets, I'm going to tell you right now, vatos are going to trip, humps. There's a lot of people with old school mentalities. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, straight up, I've never been one to be racial. I've never been one to judge people by the way they look or act, right? But I judge them by the content of their character. If they disrespect me, I'm going to do something disrespectful to them. If they hurt me or my familia, well, guess what? If I make it, I'm going to hurt them right on back, allegedly, right? It's tit for tat and it's tat for tits. You do exactly what you're supposed to do as a man. Okay? Now, when you get incarcerated and locked up, if you come in with that gangbanging mentality, that street mentality, man, you know what I'm saying, man? And all that, guess what's going to happen to you? Your boat's going to get floated, that's it. Out into the middle of the ocean, they're going to sink your ass. That's how it is. Okay? I'm just giving real game here. Now, back in the days, it was very honorable. We looked forward to prison. You know, I remember being in YA, kicking back with my homeboys. We throw juntas and we chop it up. We chop up game. And, you know, we had homeboys that had transitioned from YA. They caught that M number. They went to Tracy prison. We had homeboys that had got out, caught a hot one, went to prison. And some of them guys still wrote us. We wrote back and forth because, I mean, we had just done so much time together. It was like, damn, Kamnad, you're already in prison. How is it, Holmes? That was always the question. How is it? Is it cool, bro? Is there a gang of them mother fools? Are you getting off? What's up? We were asking fucking questions we shouldn't even be asking over the mail, but we were young and we didn't know. See, we had that gang-banging mentality. We didn't have that organized mentality enough to know, hey, Spencer Matira, this is kind of like dry snitching, right? We didn't know. You know, who was there to guide us? You know, we were hoping that these homeboys could give it the clecha so that way we would know. Of course, we would get letters filtered back to us that would say, hey, bro, you know what I mean? You're saying a little too much, but at the same time, it's cool, it's cool. But we never got too much of the game. I was privileged enough to get out and have tios and have primos that were incarcerated in prison and some homeboys from the barrio that laced me up and gained me up and told me, hey, it's nowhere you want to go. It's not what it's cracked up to be. It's not what you think, right? Now, I understand on 4 yards and 3 yards, specifically 4 yards, there's dangerous situations that happen, okay? There's things that shouldn't be and can't be spoken upon that happen. You know, and if you don't have that strong mind, if you don't have that mentality to go in there and just fucking mind your own business and do your thing with your gente and, hey, be accounted for when it's time to be accounted for, you're never going to make it. I don't care how hardcore you think you are. You're a fucking little rapper. You got a few fake gold chains on. You know what I mean? You're wearing Jordan 4s. I don't care how cool you think you are. You're all up on no jumper with Adam 16. None of that shit means nothing to real ones that are incarcerated because they don't see that. All they see is them walls, humps. All they see is what's right there. And they have a mentality to get whatever is right there. And if you go in there and you have some slippage in your game, and if you go in there and you're susceptible to be manipulated, or, you know what I mean, you're making the gente look bad or anything, they're going to approach you in a definitely timely fashion. You know what happens? I've seen one guy, and I'm going to tell you guys a quick story. We were on a yard. We were in Susanville, and the yard had just flipped, meaning that the active Norteños, there was 80 of us. They had placed us in administrative segregation. So I came from Tracy and immediately I went to the oil. And there wasn't nothing spectacular or new to me. It was all true to me. I thought and I figured, you know, they're putting us in here because they got to get some bedding for us. I didn't know exactly what was happening. And then I get there and there's a gang of Norteños there. There's a gang of homeboys. So I'm getting my wheelhouse, get cleared, whatever I got to do, right? And I start getting at the gente, who are the gente. And they're telling me, hey, bro, they're putting us all here. And then they're going to pick a date and release us to the yarda. They're flipping the yard. They're getting the degenerates off the yard, which, of course, were the 50-50s at that time. Northerners that weren't functioning. We were active still at this point. So we were going to hit the yarda. So, bam, I remember when that day came. They came, opened up all our doors. They had our property. We got our property. It was sitting in front of our doors. I remember I got a little deodorant and shit because that was the first thing I needed. I was smelling like a whole sack of cebolla, right? Mixed cebolla and papas mixed. Say that 3 times fast. I said, right? I was stinky. Anyway, so I remember, bam, they told me you're going to building 2, or I was going to building 3, I think it was building 3, I forget. The mobilization was real. Anyways, we started functioning on that yard, and everything was everything. You know, we started to establish our spot. Of course, man, you know, it was a big respect thing with the Vatos from the South. They definitely approached us, let us know exactly what time it was on that yard. There was a lot of woods on that yard, brother, a lot of skinheads on that yard. But we were all chilling. You know, everybody was doing it at a respectful level, and that was cool by me. But of course, I was on point at all times, understanding that it could pop off just like that. Now, the mentality I had was the old school mentality, the convict mentality, the mentality to shut the fuck up and listen, not the painted fingernail mentality, definitely not the Bud Light mentality. And I didn't go in there thinking I was harder than anyone else. In fact, Holmes, I just leaned back like Fat Joe and I leaned sideways like a cholo, right? And I just did my thing because I knew at the end of the day, man, that's how you're supposed to act. You're supposed to act accordingly and in a professional manner and with respect to everybody in that yard, because I'm just getting there. It's it. People have already been established. They have routines. They have certain things. It's up to me to find out who does what and how they do it, man, and get in where I fit in. And if I don't, make myself fit. And that's just it, right? So I remember we're kicking back on the bleachers, kicking back. We had these little bleachers on our side. Of course, we're functioning on programming on the side of the Africanos and the others. And I had this big old Uso I used to do dips with. Cool as fuck, bro. He was from EPA. Shout out, he was a Tongan. Shout out to the homie, right? Anyways, we're kicking back. And a northerner had got there. And he had got off the bus. He was from San Fran. And I remember he was a güero. And he got there and he was walking like he was the toughest thing since fucking wheat bread, right? You know, day old wheat bread, just crusted. This about his chest was out there, right? And I remember thinking, you're supposed to keep your head up on the yard and, of course, carry yourself with class. But at the same time, he was doing way too much. And if I noticed, I know everyone else noticed. And, of course, Junta got thrown. Everybody noticed, right? And of course, he gets cleared to come to the yard. There's a little mystery in his history based on something he did in San Quentin. So he owes a little cleanup and he has to do a few little things. But his mentality got him in a wreck, gente. His mentality got him in a wreck because he came, oh man, I was balling out there. I was doing this. He kept bringing his street mentality into what we were going through. And what we were going through was trying to establish this yard. See, we had bigger and better things to do, Holmes. We were worried about establishing this yard, making sure the homeless had a righteous program, and getting everyone on par and on the same page, where this motherfucker was coming in like, oh, bro, I was balling. I was mini-mansioning it up. Airbnb's, bitch. I had so many thoughts. I was getting the wiggle. And people didn't want to hear him. And ultimately, man, he got hurt bad. Right? And I remember when I went to the oil, when I ended up doing my red on red, I'm sitting there and he's in the oil still waiting to be transferred to an SNY yard. And he's telling me, hey, Canal, damn, bro, I thought it was all good. I said, it was. T acting stupid. You caused your wreck. You did that to yourself. You were cleared, Holmes, and feared. Homeboy, you were a big-ass homie ready to do your thing. You would have been loved and embraced. The canalismo was real, bro. But, of course, you find yourself in this situation. Then I looked in the mirror and remembered I was in the same situation as him, only different. See, he done what he done to himself, and I did what I did to myself. Mine being a little bit different than his, mine going out on my shield and handling my business, and him just getting whacked. And the reason why was because he came out with that street mentality. Again, you know, there's things that are going on nowadays that shouldn't be spoken on, and there's things that shouldn't happen. And one thing I say to the youngsters is don't fear it, Humps. Go in there and play it by ear and do your program. If you do that, you'll be right. But remember, everything you do has consequences in life. If you're out there on the streets, thinking you're bad, Holmes, and disrespecting people and people's barrios, well, guess what, Holmes? There's going to be a heavy consequence to pay. You know, the game has changed. There's no more OGs lacing you up on what to do in prison. You either know or you don't. Period. Plain and simple. That's what it is. Unfortunately, for Money Sign Suede, I don't know if he was ganged up. I don't know if he knew what time it was, but ultimately he suffered the ultimate fate, man, and it's a fucked up situation. For all the other youngsters that think prison's cool and getting tattoos are cool, you will be questioned on every ice cream cone that you get, like Young Jeezy on your face, or who's that? Gucci Mane. Believe me, if you go get these fucking Thundercat tattoos and all this weird shit, people are going to ask you about them. Best believe that. Anyways, with that being said, I just wanted to drop a double banger because I had a little bit on my mind. Stay gamed up so the game doesn't have to remind you to. And you already know what it is. If you like this, hit that like and subscribe. There's a button right there. Press all. You'll get notified of the bangers. If not, thumbs down. See, Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive and struggle and give you the realness. You know, a lot of people don't like me for it. I'm not trying to deter people from gangs. I'm not trying to deter people from the negative or the positive or the whatever, the middle of. I don't care. At the end of the day, you're going to do you and I'm going to do me. But I'm just that one that'll give you a little bit of game, homes, to do it right. This is the gun. That's it. Bang, bang.